Yes.
Nick,
Chris?
what is The Matrix?
It's a movie. And also,
No, we're not gonna use any of that. What we're gonna do is you're gonna slide into the intro.
okay.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week.
And then just go like, and that's basically it, Chris.
And that's basically it, Chris.
So, the movie's based on a true story?
I believe so, yes, from my understanding.
I'll take the blue pill, please. Okay, that was really bad, but
Zing.
yeah.
You want to start with The Matrix?
Well, I guess since I did do that bit.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me do that bit.
Hey, no problem.
You want to talk about a bit about the Matrix?
Yeah, sure. From my understanding, we both watched The Matrix today.
This is true. Yeah, we did just watch it today. We had to push back the recording this because I texted Nick and said, "Hey, can we do it at 1? Because I gotta watch The Matrix." And then he sent me a screenshot of him watching The Matrix.
Yeah.
Not a screenshot. I guess a picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have done this already. We mentioned before.
This is true.
We have recorded an episode about The Matrix.
I think we were too drunk for it to be
usable.
listenable.
Yeah. Here's a clip of that now.
Are you really gonna dig that out?
Yeah, send it to me later. You
I don't know if I have it.
It's on your computer. It has to be on your computer. So.
Okay.
And if not, then you heard nothing, and
Sure.
we don't have it anymore.
I'll
luckily.
send it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chris. What are your general thoughts and opinions on The Matrix?
Ooh, okay. I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like The Matrix. The Matrix is good. Let's just get that out of the way.
Okay.
I'm a fan of The Matrix. But The Matrix is always... It's always a little bit... Like, when I watched it, I feel like it's always a little bit more than what I thought it was going to be, but then it also leaves me... It's a little bit not fully what I've expected it to be always.
Okay.
It's a weird...
Yeah, I know what you mean. Kinda.
It's a weird experience for me where I'm in awe of it sometimes, and it is very... it's a fun, thrilling watch. Great.
Yes.
Tastes great. Action-packed. What can I say about The Matrix that hasn't been said? It's like a live-action anime. Such an tastefully done blending of those two things, because that can be done very poorly. We've seen it happen a million times.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's great. Stylistic. Top-down. Super tasteful. I think it's tastefully, cornily, over the top in a fun way, in the same way that, like, a lot of, like, I think that's the appeal of a lot of animes for people, is that, like, it's like the action movies of the 80s. Like, it's cheesy, but in a badass way, you know? Like, it's like,
yeah.
It's great. But, there's always, like, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say mainly is that my first experience with it was kind of like, oh shit, that's what The Matrix is? Like, this was cool.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting for it to not necessarily hold up, but I think it holds up well. So my general thoughts and feelings towards The Matrix are that it's great. It's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
What's on your mind, man?
Oh, for me?
Yeah, with The Matrix, yeah.
I think the first time I watched The Matrix
Yeah.
was when we were 19 and we lived together.
Sure.
And I think every movie I saw that year, I went, dumb, dumb, bad movie,
Yeah.
bad movie, overrated, bad movie. And then I watched it again a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, even when I watched it today, just couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is over the top. There's some stuff that some shit that doesn't work or whatever. But I have no problems with The Matrix.
Yeah, no.
Spoilers for grading. I think The Matrix might be a perfect film.
Okay.
Like,
I'll give it like an A. I'm going to spoil that as well, but we'll give it like an A.
I relate this movie to, in a way, The Shining.
Okay.
Where something that I love about The Shining is, like, part of its own mystique that might even get in its own way sometimes.
Yeah.
But, like, there's so much uncertainty about The Shining, and that's kind of part of the movie where, like, even small things like continuity errors you can watch The Shining and be like, oh, maybe that's the hotel doing fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel that way with The Matrix, where if something doesn't make sense, or something is cheesy, or something is bad, it's wrapped in the rest of The Matrix.
Yeah.
Makes me not care or even really see it.
Yeah. It's part of the charm.
And yeah, you're right. This movie's fucking corny.
Yeah.
But so much of it is like not even having to watch it with like 1999 eyes. Every scene in this movie has a shot that makes me go, fuck, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And sometimes it has two shots that makes me go, fuck, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Pretty sweet.
Like, this movie is so unbelievably well made.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I can think of an action movie that I am more impressed by than The Matrix. And
yeah. I mean, that's one of the interesting things, in my opinion, about a good action movie is that if done right, there's something there. It's like there's something dumb as fuck in there that you just don't give a shit about.
Yeah.
Like, I love Point Break, but what the fuck? It's the bank robbers are thrill-seeking surfers.
that tracks to me.
I guess.
Yeah, no,
you're
absolutely right. Yeah.
It's like
You're right. That's a conceit of Point Break is, I guess.
yeah, like sure. Yeah, Kurt Russell loves to surf, but then also they pay for their lifestyle by robbing banks. I mean, I guess it could happen. I'm just saying it's weird. Same thing with the Matrix. I think there's some, but whatever. It's. I'm not going into this complaining at all. There's nothing I'm going to complain about. I think first and foremost, I want to talk about it the way that we've talked about a couple of films like that Spider-Man one, with the whole like the futility of like trying to save one timeline in this endless sea of trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of timelines. Blue pill. Me. Blue pill. 1000% blue pill. Every time. This is a hopeless film. I don't know. This seems like what you see the world they wake up into.
Yeah.
Is it worth liberating human beings at this point?
What's his name in the movie? The guy
Morpheus.
Joey Pants. Joey Pantalone. He plays
Bald?
the bald guy that like sells them out.
Sure, let's call him Goatee.
He's the good guy in my opinion.
Am I wrong?
No, Chris, you and I are on the same page. I am staying in the Matrix. Like
No,
even
thank you.
I know. Even at one point, Morpheus
Yeah.
goes when he's showing Neo what the Matrix is. He goes, "What is real other than
Yeah.
electrons firing?" Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Morpheus.
yeah.
Let's stay in the fucking Matrix.
Because what we're doing right now is what Neo would be doing. He lives in
Exactly.
an apartment, he plays video games, he's got a job, he has friends. That's so much better than what, like, they have the tubes that spit out slop for them to drool on?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And,
And
like,
I don't want to know that I have a plug in the back of my head.
Exactly.
I'm happy here with no plugs.
I don't want to know that I was in a big goo pond. Like,
Nope.
Nope. I feel like at the level that humans are being oppressed in this
Yeah.
movie, the fact that the AI goes out of its way to make it not our problem
Yeah.
that they're using us as batteries,
Yeah.
I think is pretty chill of them, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, super reasonable. Yeah, that's okay. I said I wasn't going to complain, but if I were to make one little complaint, this does not matter. Yeah, I feel like there should be some glimmer of why you would want to be out of the Matrix,
Like, there has to be something more
because it is
wrong.
bleak
Yeah.
out there. Like what I'm talking about is like how like in Wall-E they're like, well, look at this one flower that grew. Yeah, Earth is a hellhole, but we could. But I don't know, like, my only problem with the Matrix, and again, I'm not going to be all semantic, and it's just that, like, what is B? After you finish A, what is B?
Yeah,
what do you do with that world?
Where do you go from inside of the spaceship that they're in, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything for you guys to do.
Like, they've blacked out the sky on Earth. We know that already.
yeah.
Like,
How do you unblack out the sky? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is...
Yeah, it's way too bleak outside of the
way
Matrix.
too bleak. It's done. Like, AI beyond one.
Yeah. Also, I was thinking about this the other day about Wall-E.
Yeah.
You think I might cut this out. You think the folks on Wall-E are like fucking, or are they like, do they got the robots that they fuck crazy style that like?
I think
Making
they're
humans.
so fat and sedentary that they have no libido, probably.
But how do they make new people?
They probably have to do it some sort of sciencey way.
Yeah, so
Some sort of IVF type beat.
there's a Wall-E type robot that they fuck like crazy, and then
You're talking about what you're talking about reminds me of this film I just half rewatched called High Life.
okay,
It's I like the concept, but the film trigger warning. I'm about to say the R word a lot. It's really rapey.
Okay.
Sidebar from Matrix sci-fi to talk about softer sci-fi. High Life, Robert Pattinson, Andre 3000, Mia Goth. Stacked cast.
I gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, it's decent. Like I said, it's just a little too rapey for my taste. But basically, it's from a French director.
Oui.
And I believe the sci-fi of it is that these like inmates who have substantial life sentences, whatever amount of time, if not full-blown life, can have their sentences reduced if they agree to be sent out on like spaceships that are conducting different experiments. And the ones on this ship specifically, they're trying to conceive a child and bring it to term and raise it in space, which I think some of the things that they're trying to combat are like some of the physiological implications of growing up like outside of gravity. Like I know that the astronauts spend a year or two in atmosphere or whatever, like outside of atmosphere, and like their ligaments start to deteriorate a little bit because like your human body is like evolved to account for gravity. Yeah, exactly. So to do this, they like try to control sex that doesn't happen naturally. There is a doctor who like has a little like jerk off room, and everybody goes into this room to like fuck this like saddle thing. Women are squirting everywhere and people are fucking, but Robert Pattinson refuses. And this is mild spoilers, probably big spoilers. But then there's just this flurry of rapes that happen. There's like 2 or 3 different types of rapes, and I guess in a sense the movie's trying to like put them side by side and have you determine like, are these all like, what's the degree? Get what I'm saying? Like, There's a violent man on lady rape where I think he gets beat to death after that happens. But then there's like kind of this quiet, soft, Robert Pattinson won't give up his nut, so this girl like sneaks in at night while he's sleeping and fucks him while he's sleeping, and obviously he comes in her without him knowing. I don't know if he ever finds out that he's been raped, but then like she ends up having his baby, and then you keep flickering between that timeline and then way into the future where Robert Pattinson did fully raise that child to be like 16, right? And it's just her and him left. Everyone else has died, and they just live on there. And like there's just weird scenes where like she's in her panties and nothing else, and like cuddling him in bed, and he'll like wake up and he's like, no, you're too old to be in bed with me, go get in your bed, and it's like, this is weirdly sexual. But again, it's like commenting on how like, well, if you grew up outside of society, would it be weird to be in your panties in bed with your Robert Pattinson dad? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a weirdly French.
Yeah, it's very French.
It's a French like weirdly erotic, like questioning everything type of deconstructive, like smoke a cigarette and watch a High Life.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but it's good. It's just weird. It's like it's uncomfortable and taboo a little, and
it's like a.
I remember leaving the theater with a girl I was dating at the time and her best friend. They were like, "Oh, that was hot," and I was like,
"Boof."
I was uncomfortable for most of that film, but maybe I'm just sexually repressed. I don't know.
How I'm uncomfortable outside of this film.
Yeah.
That's like the European version of Leon the Professional, where like they're like have a relationship a little bit. It's like, why? Yeah. Maybe it's just my American sensibilities, but it's like I think the Professional's way better without any of that. But
you should watch High Life. Maybe we should watch it for the podcast one day.
Okay,
but
we could. Yeah.
It's interesting. It was one of those things where I was just visiting my fiance for a couple of weeks in Missouri, and her roommate just happened to be like, "Yeah, I want to check out this movie from this playlist I saw called He's Having Sex with What?" or something like that. And it had movies like her on it and stuff. It's a Letterboxd playlist that just has all these. But anyways, back to the Matrix.
Tell him to add Wally in my headcanon. Put Wally in that.
But
anyway, the Matrix. That's also. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say. Well, how do you think? They say in this that humans aren't born; they're grown. In this, but how does that work inside the Matrix?
They probably fucking.
They have to like.
Are you saying outside or inside?
Well, it's a super smart computer AI. I mean, like, how do the inside and the outside line up? Where it's just like, you inside the Matrix, you have intercourse with somebody and you have a baby, but on the outside, that baby's being grown.
Yeah, they probably just line it up so that you're right with your events of life history line up with what they. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this movie was written and directed by the Wachowskis. cinematography by Bill Pope. I think this movie looks so good. Budget $63 million. Box office of what, Chris?
This movie made, I want to say, if I had to guess, oh, goddamn. All right, I'm going to say this thing made $300 million.
Ooh, 467. It made
Damn.
almost $500 million.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
That's pretty impressive, yeah.
Also, before we do plot stuff, just another relating this movie to another movie for me. This movie I feel very similar to Alien.
Yeah.
Where this and Alien, when both of them finish, I like this movie so much, I have no interest in watching The Matrix 2 or Aliens. You know? I haven't seen either of them, and I mean, we might watch Aliens for this podcast, but also...
You never seen Aliens?
Fuck, I'd watch Matrix 2 for this podcast as well, but no, I've never seen Aliens.
Really?
I like Aliens so much that I'm like...
People put it in that, the Terminator 2 category of,
I know.
potentially being better. But,
I love James Cameron, and I love Terminator 2, and I have no doubt that I would enjoy Aliens.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's like...
I do love Terminator 2, but, you know, I don't care for it the same way that I care for the first one. The first one's so special. I was just watching, the little Tubi preview of Arnold Schwarzenegger, no eyebrows, film grain, right? It's got that 80s techno noir synth soundtrack building tension, and he's in the driver's seat of a cop car. They're in a parking structure, and Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor are hiding in a car. And he's trying to quietly turn it on, but the Terminator notices it right away, and they're just driving on opposite sides of a row of parked cars, and they keep firing at each other and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just got this, like I said, this just blend of gritty late 70s ultra violence and sci-fi futuristic. The world's gonna end by time travel to save you. You know, it's just such a Star Warsian blend of all these different things, because there's also a slasher element where he's almost like a slasher villain.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
It's just so chef's kiss.
And that's what I think is so cool about Terminator 2 is that it's a totally different movie, but it fits totally fine. And it's I would argue T2 is better, but also it's apples to oranges for me, where it's just it doesn't matter. I think T2 is just a perfect, I mean, we've talked about it on the show. It's a perfect fat-free movie, but also, you're right. Terminator 1 just got something about it.
Got something about it. Anyways, back to this film. You know, what can I say? It's awesome when Mr. Keanu Reeves is sleeping at his desk, and there's the Chinese characters and the news headlines on his face and stuff.
First note I wrote down, I love that shit. I think we don't do it enough anymore in movies, but the projector on someone's face showing what the computer screen they're looking at is doing, that just looks so sick.
And it's one of the first notes I took was that this is such an interesting version of retro futurism now, because there's dial-up-y internet that... And such an integral part of this film is the payphone. I
which
know. Which is gone.
I love that shit so much. A phone ringing is so important to this movie that in just a way you never see a phone ring anymore. But it's just so sick.
Phones vibrate now.
Yeah, unfortunately. This movie's so... What is it about the year 1999 with green movies that are anti-office life? Yeah. You know? Yeah. I can only think of this in Fight Club, but I think that's...
No, yeah.
Two is a lot.
I think that pretty much summed up the late 90s. I mean, you even had, not that it's green, but you also had that sentiment in, the whole Office Space thing. I feel like there was, such a rebellion against the office culture thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've said it before on the show, but I love that. The meme of, Fight Club being oh, my job is too good and secure, and I'm going crazy. It's fuck you. Fuck you, 1990s people.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we were pissing the bed about that, and then now a lot of that's gone away.
Oh, I'd kill for Edward Norton's job in Fight Club. Oh my god!
You mean a secure job where I can just order things because I'm bored out of a magazine?
Yeah, man, I'd love to do that.
I don't know. It's just so strange. Yeah, I personally don't see a lot of commentary about it, but that late 90s. Just Bill Clinton's president, and he balanced the checkbook, and we're all just comfortable, and for some reason that sucked.
Yeah.
What?
Hey man, we need to be fucking hunting for food, and this isn't how we're supposed to be. It's just okay, great. But I'm out here hunting for food kind of now, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty close to being in a freaking Mad Maxian future where retarded Hitler's and put in charge.
Yeah.
and that's pretty not dope compared to what's his name, American History X and Fight Club. I'd rather have his situation.
Yeah. I'd rather be the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. So, but anyways.
Oh, side note, so I'm gonna review a movie while we're reviewing a movie.
Yeah.
I saw Captain America: Brave New World the other day.
Yeah.
It's got Red Hulk in it, played by Harrison Ford.
Sure.
Movie's about 2 hours long.
Yeah.
At about the hour mark, I got up and went to the bathroom just to play on my phone for a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how bad that movie was.
Wow.
I don't recommend it.
Wow.
And my favorite thing about it.
Sure.
Have you seen any of the stuff that's going on with Rob Liefeld right now? You know who Rob Liefeld is?
Rob Liefeld. Yeah,
created
kind
Deadpool.
of.
Him and Todd McFarlane were boys back in the day. Todd McFarlane
and he
brought him
left.
up.
Yeah. He's the one who draws a little disproportionate stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Him and Todd McFarlane fell out, but now they're friends again.
What's going on with him now?
Apparently something happened when the last Deadpool movie came out where he got kicked out of a Deadpool after party.
Okay.
Because he quote unquote wasn't on the list, but he was just like, yeah, but I created Deadpool, and then so he kind of just went off on Twitter about how the higher ups, even besides this, at Marvel Studios, are so unbelievably disrespectful to comic creators, which is true. They have been the whole
absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
Comic creators other than Rob Liefeld don't get credit for when photos panels are ripped from comic books and put into movies. The creator of those panels do not get any credit or pay for it at all. So Rob Liefeld has just been going off about that. And anytime I've seen anything about this new Captain America on Twitter, it's from Rob Liefeld quote tweeting it and saying, they filmed this movie 4 times. They filmed this movie 4 times because apparently they kept filming this movie and it was just dog shit and had to redo it. And watching this movie, oh my God, Chris, they so obviously filmed this movie 4 times. There are so many scenes where I went with my friend Jordan.
Yeah.
Where somebody is talking to somebody, and I would lean over to my friend Jordan and go, me when I'm clearly in a real space. It's just the worst green screen I've ever seen from shot to shot. It's real then green screen, then real then green screen. It's so gross.
I mean, I know I'm the pretentious asshole for saying it, but it's just so soulless and manufactured at this point.
Yeah.
I'm so again, I mean the last Marvel movie I saw besides Deadpool vs. Wolverine, because I went to see it with my whole family because I'm not going to be a stick in the mud. I mean, all of my younger siblings enjoy it, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But, the last one that I saw, I think was probably Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or maybe the Suicide Squad, the one that, what's his name did?
That's DC, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, anyways, all I'm trying to say is that I pick and choose here and there, but there have been probably 30 at least.
Yeah.
That I have not seen just because, again, what's this whole thing coming out right now with the Liquidators or something? The Skull and Bones crew?
Oh, the Thunderbolts?
The Thunderbolts, yeah.
Yeah.
God damn it, dude. You just saw that Borderlands flopped?
You saw that Suicide Squad flopped?
Yeah, what are you doing? I don't know, it's... That one specifically is such a groaner because it's we just did the whole what if the villains were the good guys thing a bunch. This one is,
and this one's weird because they're not
way
even
past
the villains. They're just the mean heroes, And it's so.
Who is that for? Nobody wants that now.
It's 5 characters. It's 5 characters who are the same archetype, just on a team. It's that's
and nobody knows who they are.
Fuck. And yeah, I haven't seen.
And what are you trying to do? The Guardians of the Galaxy thing still? Because I feel like they still keep trying to do that thing where they're you don't know this guy, but we're gonna put a David Bowie song behind it,
and you're gonna love
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
yeah,
same. I've been pretty out of Marvel stuff. I haven't seen the last however many besides the Deadpool one.
Yeah,
but I thought I saw that this one was coming out. It's been a while since me and my buddy Jordan hung out, and I was like, hey. Let's go see this Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And I really regret going to see that Marvel movie. However, that new Fantastic Four's got me bricked up, dude. Can't even lie. Oh, it looks so good.
I hope it's good. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying that.
Oh, no, me too. I want them to be good, but
sure,
unfortunately they're a bummer lately.
The only thing that sucks is the only thing that makes me mad is just that why can't we also make I'm glad that we're in the era of everything everywhere all at once and Nosferatu, Ryan Eggers, whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh yeah.
But it'd be cool if we could have I don't know, a movie like The Matrix or The Terminator that comes out that someone put their brain and heart and dick into and people worked on and it wasn't just a paycheck.
Yeah, you don't.
It's sad that Hollywood's dying. There's from what I hear, studios are closing and shit, and it's basically Marvel or bust, or go to Netflix and have them buy one season just to cancel it. Like, it's just,
Yeah, you unfortunately don't get, even though Marvel's not doing good anymore, you unfortunately don't get the Matrix anymore, because even if someone tries to make a Matrix, it gets so steamrolled, it just doesn't come out to be a good movie, or nobody goes to fucking see it, so it's in theaters for a week and then on Netflix for the rest of its life. And
I don't think I talked about this on the last episode, but I was doing a little bit of number crunching.
Love that for you.
And I was looking at Stranger Things, which undeniably has probably made its money back
100
many times over. But it is the archetype for kind of like
every streaming show.
Yeah. And not sustainable, not working out for anybody. Not even the Game of Thrones season show that's out now, or the Lord of the Rings show. So basically, the numbers that I was crunching were how many episodes do you think there are of Stranger Things?
I'm going to say 40.
You think there's 40 episodes?
Yeah, I'm going to say 10 episodes a
Pretty
season,
close.
maybe.
There's 34.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And those 34 episodes have cost roughly $270 million an episode.
Oof.
From what I understand.
Okay.
Let me just double check that really quick before I, how much does... And that's not every episode. Obviously, the early seasons probably cost way less.
Yeah, you're giving averages.
Yeah. But if you just type in how much does an episode of Stranger Things cost... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. 30 million. 30 million.
Oh, okay.
So to date, the total is 270 million. Totally wrong. But still, 30 million an episode
isn't nothing.
Is you could make... Kevin Smith can make 2 movies for that.
Yeah, that's half of The Matrix.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
absolutely. So 30 million an episode, right? And they've done 34 episodes. It's cost them about 300 million, let's say. How long do you think the show's been out?
Oh, it's got to be like 10 years at this point.
Yeah, it's about 9 years.
Yeah.
About 9 years. So in 9 years, they've made 34 episodes of a TV show.
Which is insane.
Right? And there's this screenshot I took from Reddit where someone kind of broke down like the actual like amount of time that's elapsed between seasons. And let me break this down for you. So season 1 came out in July of 2016, right?
Right.
The next one came out in October of 2017. That's 469 days later. Basically a year. Let's say a year and a couple months. Then the next one came out in July of 2019, over 2 years later, basically, or just about 2 years later, right? So 2-year gap. Season 4 came out 1,000 days later, so 3 years later. Came out in May of 2022, right? Season 5 is not out yet, but it's already been about 1,000 days.
Jesus.
Yeah. So in, again, like you said, 9 years, they've made 34 episodes of television, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. I hadn't thought about that. I assumed it was like, oh yeah, every 2 years we get a season of Stranger Things, but yeah, no, it's, oof.
Yeah. So comparably, can you open up your calculator real quick and just add in some numbers for me?
Sure. All right, hit me.
Okay. So 24 plus 25
plus 25
plus 24
plus 24
plus 24
plus 24
plus 20
plus 20
plus 22
plus 22
plus 22
plus 22
plus 21
plus 21
plus 20
plus 20,
and that's it. What does that add up to?
202.
202. Okay. So I know that this is apples to oranges, totally separate, but I'm just giving an example of the old school version of television, which was every year you hand in 20-ish episodes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the X-Files. In 9 years, they put out 202 episodes.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Each one of those costing $1 to $2 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that basically their budget is somewhere between 200 and 400 million for those 9 seasons. So right in the sweet spot of how much, I would say Stranger Things cost.
Mm-hmm.
Total, right? And I believe that's the number. Let me just double check. If I just type in how much does an episode of the X-Files, how much did an episode of the X-Files cost? beep, 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 beep. Let me just... How much did an episode cast? Oh, yeah, and also there was a movie in there.
Oh,
they made
right.
a movie also. And so ultimately what I'm just trying to say is, yeah, it cost the same, roughly, somewhere in the same. Produced way more content and a movie as well. Now, I tell you that in the same span of 9 years, they both spent the same amount of money, but it's structured totally different. 9 episodes of television versus 202. 202 has a lot more ad space, a lot more revenue, a lot better chance for return on investment, right? So all I'm trying to say is that, like, yes, it worked for Stranger Things, but much like Marvel, the streaming situation is not going to work for everybody because not every show is going to blast off like Stranger Things did. And yeah, I don't know. It's just such a weird... I think my point has been made to some degree, where it's just like, at the end of 9 years, having 34 episodes to show for your work is... Maybe it worked for Stranger Things, but it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
For again, especially because when you factor in the fact that Netflix just started using ads, so let's not even talk about that. You're just charging $15 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So whether your 9 seasons kick ass or 9 episodes, whatever it is, 34 episodes or whatever, kick ass or not, doesn't really fluctuate anything besides, like, I suppose, the advertising money.
Mm-hmm.
That you make, or merchandising money and stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Merchandising, not advertising. So I don't know. I just, as a businessman in a sense, I'm sitting here looking at these numbers kind of thinking, like, I don't know if this model works to keep pumping movie budgets into each episode of a TV show that's only going to net you $15 a month for everybody who watches it.
That's why they're doing ads and have boosted its subscription prices and made it so you can't share accounts anymore.
Or instead of doing that, how about you just not pump a movie's budget into every episode?
Yeah,
we don't need that. Nobody wants that. The most popular shows on these, if you look at it's always like Friends, The Office.
Yeah.
How much did let me just type in really quick. I'm sorry that this has nothing to do with the Matrix, or does it? Are we seeing through the Matrix right now? How much did an episode of The Office cost? Wow, around $250,000 an episode.
Jeez, Louise.
And you want to tell me? In my opinion, I'm gonna say The Office is a bigger.
Never seen a Demogorgon in The Office. Though.
Nuh-uh. So you get what I don't know. That's just I don't know.
Well,
I think we're living in a day and age of movies and TV beyond corrupted by capitalism. I don't mind a little bit of capitalism corruption. I mean, goddamn, it's cute when you see the Flintstones smoking Winstons and selling Winstons. Not gonna lie, sometimes capitalism's a little cute, but this is crazy. This is crazy. A stranglehold on art because they're so interested in pumping up the budget as much as they can because they want the next $1 billion movie because of that whole, like, billionaire boner on, like, we need a freaking record-setting quarter. No, you don't. Not every quarter has to be record-setting.
Yeah, I think here's my theory on what happened. Is Netflix forever was people's office machine or Parks and Rec machine or Breaking Bad machine. Yeah. And because they were making all that money from everybody, they were like, fuck it, sure, accounts, we don't care. We're making buku bucks, and we can pump a movie's budget into an episode of TV that we make. Yeah. And hopefully you'll really like our TV shows that we make. And when Stranger Things started, we all really did. Yeah. And then, you get Haunting of Hill House and yada yada, and people really liked all of those. And they looked really good, and oh, cool, I can watch all of it all at once, and yada yada. And then Netflix started making a lot of money. I mean, from what I remember, I think Netflix still does this to this day. Nobody knows how much money Netflix makes, or like, no, there's no hard numbers on anything that Netflix does money wise.
Well, that's just shady to me.
Yeah, because Netflix is like, we don't need to tell you, so why would we? And it got to the point where everybody was like, okay, this is now TV instead of TV. So how about us, NBC, who owns The Office? We'll make a Netflix and we'll take The Office, and then everybody will pay us for The Office. And then nobody really fucking did. Everyone just went, okay, I guess I'm done watching The Office. Yeah. And then because The Office wasn't on Netflix, everyone's just like, okay, well, I don't really need to pay for Netflix. And everybody's like splintered through the 100 different streaming services that there are. And for whatever fucking reason, Netflix is just like, okay, we're not making nearly as much money as we used to, but we can't make our stuff look worse. We still have to be putting movie budgets into every episode of television that we make, so fuck it, we'll make everybody else pay for it, so you can't share accounts anymore, and we're going to give you ads, and we're going to raise our prices, and yada, yada, yada. and it all just fucking blows butts now.
Yeah.
And everybody should be stealing their media again.
Yeah.
I think everybody should be going to does Pirate Bay still exist? I don't know. Yeah, anyway, what I'm getting at is the media that you can't own is something that you can't steal, so go for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Matrix.
Yeah. It's just greed run amok. I don't know. I just wish.
Oh, yeah.
I wish there were some sort of, just end. There's just some point where, like, the corrupted. Because again, I don't want to be do the whole political thing, but I hate hearing the narrative of like people being like Elon Musk and Trump have all the money in the world, like what do they gain from being president? Like, oh, money? Like, they got money. Like, they're there for the everyman. They want to make things better. It's like a passion project. People generally in MAGA or whatever believe that, right? That, like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. I mean this with every fiber of my being. Like, anybody who has $1 billion is a straight up demon. You're not a human being anymore. You've been corrupted beyond belief. Like, you're not relatable. You're a monster.
Yeah, your brain is broken.
So I just don't understand how someone could, like, simp so hard and, like, genuinely drink the juice of, like, he's trying to help me. He doesn't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, I think it was people were really concerned with Elon Musk having everybody's data, like access to like Social Security and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think it was that dipshit Joe Rogan was like, Elon Musk has $150 billion. Yeah. Why do you think he's going to steal money from you? He already has a lot of money. It's like, yes, he's addicted to having money. I absolutely think he would steal money out of my pocket if he had the chance. Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the other day there was the thing. The Trump administration say they have no plans to honor or whatever, but they found like a $400 million armored Tesla contract.
Jesus.
With the military.
Yeah.
And then I hear people complain about like 20 million of our freaking taxpayer dollars are going to fucking making sure Iraqi kids can watch Sesame Street, and you got freaking Democrats talking about, well, if we send Sesame Street now in 20 years we won't have to shoot as many bullets or whatever. And it's just one of those things where that's a pretty crass way to put it. But, that's foreign policy. You do humanitarian efforts because, 1, it makes you look good for your people. 2, it makes you look good to other countries. 3, potentially you have a positive impact on the people that you're giving whatever.
Sesame Street, yeah.
Sesame Street, or it could be as benign as Sesame Street, but that's a great bit of access to education and just positive something to give to someone out there. I don't mind if 20 million goes to kids around the entire world getting to watch Sesame Street. But anyways, whether it's condoms or it's vaccines or it's Sesame Street, you're directly helping another country.
Yeah.
It's people, even if the government doesn't recognize it, even if, again, like Iraq, whatever regime is in place there, hates America and wants to see it. If you're directly helping the people of Iraq, that's going to slowly change the sentiment in the actual people that live there. So 1, that's a geopolitics win. 2, again, you're a humanitarian country. Places like the EU and Canada and Mexico or whatever, all these hundreds of countries around the world that aren't run by dictators see that and they go, oh wow, cool, the good guys, they want to be our friends. Way more effective use of money than buying a bunch of missiles that'll never get shot. Mm-hmm. To maintain good relations. So I don't know. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but it's just one of those things where it's so, I don't know, annoying to hear something like that called fraud or a waste of money. I remember seeing a headline. I didn't read it, but I didn't need to, where someone was basically just like, Elon Musk, not an accountant, seems to think anytime money is spent in a way he doesn't like is fraud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's like you're right. I don't understand the people who are like, "Oh, it's so cool that Elon Musk, now that he's part of the government, just made."
He's not a part of the government. That's the other thing, though. Oh, he was specially appointed by Trump.
Yes, well, I mean, since
he's technically a government contractor right now, so he's not beholden to any kind of legal framework for oversight or checks and balances.
Yeah. But since he's been put into his current position, he I think I read somewhere the other day that he made $140 billion. Yeah. And there are people who are like, that's so cool of him to do. Yeah. But then those same people are also like, well, I don't want my tax dollars going to giving kids free lunches at schools. Yeah. And now, big question for you, Chris. Would you rather deal with all of this, everything we've been talking about, or if you had the chance, would you wake up in a goo pod where none of this was a problem anymore?
I'm going to take this.
And instead of this, you can wake up in the goo pod and come back here and know kung fu and fly helicopters.
I'm gonna keep taking that blue pill.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
But because I think my mind has been changed.
Yeah.
I hate the Matrix so much that I would rather have kung fu and have to eat slop outside.
Yeah. Well, back to this. You can give the rundown if you'd like.
I like when he says, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And he goes, "You've never used them before."
Oh yeah, the whole what Plato's allegory of the cave thing.
Yeah, I like that they play drag. You know the song "Dragula" by Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie's up in this bitch.
Much as I want to ironically hate that song,
no, it's great.
The song kicks ass.
I love
dude.
Dragula. Sam and I got my Dragula.
It kicks ass.
The only thing that I don't like about it a little bit, even though I love the Munsters, is do you know what the Dragula is? It's the name of their family car.
Yeah.
And I just wish, it was just a nonsense word he made up. Mm-hmm. But
I don't care.
It's still fun him being like, "Yep, I'm just driving around in the Dragula." That's actually pretty badass. I take it back. Anyways,
like anytime it starts, I'm like, "Oh god, it's Dragula." But as soon as he's like, "Bah, through the ditches," I'm like, "Oh yeah, never mind. I fuck with this real hard." Anyway, he meets Trinity at the bar, and she goes, "I'm Trinity." He goes, "Oh, you broke into the IRS base?" Say database. I don't know why that shit makes me so mad in movies. If you're saving half of a syllable, you shouldn't be doing it. I like when he's like, "Oh, sorry, I just thought you'd be," and she goes, "A man? Most men do."
Yeah.
Sick. She's the coolest person I've ever seen. There's that shot where she shoots that agent in the head, and you get the POV, quote-unquote POV shot from him, and it's just her gun, like her arm and the gun is it's fucking so cool.
I love when...
so cool, man.
I love when they upload, what is it? Tai Chi or whatever into his head. Mm-hmm. Jiu-Jitsu. They upload Jiu-Jitsu in his head, and he comes out and he just goes, they just say something like, "We just downloaded Jiu-Jitsu to your brain." He literally says, "Hell yeah."
Yeah, it's so good.
Exactly, yeah. What else do you say?
When
someone downloads Kung Fu in your head, you definitely say, "Hell yeah."
It must be a clip I've seen of another Matrix movie, but anytime Lawrence Fishburne says the word machine, I always go, "The machines." I think he says it in like 2. There's a part where they go to see the Oracle. Mm-hmm. And do you know the thing about the doorknob? Let me find it. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
Get your lily white ass over here.
Me get over there?
Yeah. Okay, so they're at the door, right? They're gonna go see the Oracle.
Uh-huh.
And then you get the shot of the doorknob as they open it. This is a camera. There's the camera lens right here with a jacket and half of a tie over it, so you don't see that it's a camera filming a mirror. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
That's like my favorite type of movie shit. It's just like, hey, here's like a real ragtag film student kind of trick we played in The Matrix that works really well. I love that shit.
I love the Oracle. She's fun.
I love the little boy.
There
is no spoon.
We have an old friend whose mom has "There is no spoon" tattooed on her.
One moment. Wow, that's fun. All right. Anyway, so there is no spoon. I like the Oracle too.
I love her. I love like when she's like, "And don't worry about the vase." He knocks it over, and he's like, "Oh, sorry." She's like, "No, I told you not to worry about it. You're really gonna cook your brain later when you think, if I hadn't said anything, would you still have done it?"
I love her. I love her so much, and I love the decision to make her like an old woman. I don't know why that's so fun to me. It's like such a, I don't know if it's a simple like cliche thing to do, or it just is that because it's happened in the Matrix and everything. Like, what blows my mind about this movie, so much of this movie is like watching The Wizard of Oz and hearing someone unironically say we're not in Kansas anymore, even though someone does say that in this movie.
But they just say it with such a lack of fourth wall wink that it works. It's great.
Yeah,
because it is the originator. Like, because that's the thing is like, you know, when it's just genuine and authentic, like that's the great thing about going back to like the source, right? Going back to Wizard of Oz is hearing like, you know, is hearing Dorothy actually say like, "Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas." Like, that's just a line on piece of paper that has no historical significance until, you know, 80, 90 years of people hearing it, right? So the same thing, with this, where it's just like hearing someone genuinely say these, and do these things is
and
really
it's
nice.
So, and those bits in this movie for me are obviously the jump and the spin around or whatever, but more so than anything else is when they're in the like hotel of that office building, just lighting up those security guards for some reason. And the song, the bam, 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 I've heard that 1 million times as a joke in other places that I didn't know it was from this movie. And every time I see this movie, I'm like, oh right, this song's not a joke here, and I love it. It's so good.
Yeah.
I wrote this down. I watched this movie with a friend of mine, and when Morpheus, they're in the White Room, and he's explaining to him that they're batteries or whatever, and he holds up the battery.
Yeah.
My friend said, "I fucking hate batteries," and that made me laugh so hard that I wrote it down. Didn't elaborate on it all because I was laughing too hard. Anyway, how do you feel about the little metal bug going into his tummy?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, because I was with my friend when we were watching this, and they went, "Ugh," and they were really grossed out by it,
Yeah.
and I wasn't because I was like, it's not real. And then we were talking about like needles and stuff like that, and I told him about your thing with needles, and she went, "Well, he probably feels the same way about the bug," and I went, "Nah, I don't think he does, but turns out you do." So
I do, yeah, I do.
I'll let her know later.
Yeah. I don't like anything underneath the skin.
Yeah, I get
wish
that.
human beings were like Ken dolls, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
But there's all this stuff inside of me. It's gross.
gross. Yeah. You know what's fucked up about your rib cage?
What's that?
There's a bunch of holes in it. It's there to like protect your organs, but like they got like perfectly like knife-shaped holes in them. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. What else do you have about The Matrix? I feel like...
I mean, my last note was I fucking hate batteries, so...
Yeah, okay.
I just...
A lot of people die but come back. The villains are thwarted at the end. It's great.
That's true.
It's a blast.
I love the use of... I used to know a lot more about this
Anderson.
stuff than I currently do, but like the different types of like quote-unquote action, like especially like from movies overseas, like the wire work action and stuff like that.
Sure.
I love that. It can look really cheesy a lot of the times, but there is like an art to it where it's just like, especially with this movie, if there's a movie that heavily features like wire work fighting, you're not supposed to go, "Oh, that looks real."
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a little bit outside of reality and like appreciate this for what it is.
Yeah,
and
we've
so I
talked
love all
about this
that
plenty
shit.
of times. Like, we were just talking about that. I think that was what we were kind of getting at when we were talking about the CGI in Hellboy, where it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I see that it's CGI, but it's used so sparingly that I don't sit there and go like, "Pfft, that's not real." I go like, "Oh, neat, look how, like, you're aware of it, but it's heightened reality." It's,
Exactly, yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
And this is the exact opposite. The wire work is not used sparingly. It's just used quite a bit, and you're still like, "Oh, look at that! It's fucking yeah." I never fails to make me laugh incredibly hard when he's fighting Agent Smith in the subway, and he does the thing where he pokes his fingers out and hits him in the throat, and he goes, "Bleh!" Always funny.
It's good. It's good.
And then these last couple fight scenes with Neo and the agents, I love because some wacky, funny, supposed to be cool shit will happen, like when he like goes like the stance and then goes to that. That's silly, but then when he just starts beating his ass after that, I'm like, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then arguably, I know it's like cliche and you've seen it a million times, so like at the end we season to the Matrix and then they come fighting him and he's just that's arguably really funny and also the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Chris, I just love the Matrix. Nothing's cooler than the Matrix.
To put a bow on it, we've recently we've watched this. This is, I guess, kind of the logical culmination of what are you looking at over there, buddy?
There's a guy walking down the street with a shovel, and I thought he was gonna come ask to shovel your snow.
Yeah,
Seemed the type.
Wasn't gonna be feeling that, but anyways, we watched Blade, Equilibrium, and Matrix. This is kind of the culmination of our little, like, it's like a little, little 3-course meal in a sense.
Doesn't have to be. I got some pretty solid suggestions for what we should watch next week that fit into this. So we'll talk about it later. Yeah.
But at least for now, though, I mean, I guess like, does it recontextualize either movie for you a little bit, or do you any additional thoughts about that?
No, I think Blade and the Matrix work pretty hand in hand together. I think we talked about it quite a bit with Blade, where it's just like, it
predates the Matrix and it's its
insane,
own thing, and it's kind of the same. It's like its own unique expression of the same kind of cultural zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the green one. That was the red one. Equilibrium's kind of the blue one.
Yeah.
Color kind of going. So if you have another color in mind, but anyways, I hope we can watch Riddick, Chronicles of Riddick.
Ooh, we could watch Riddick.
Or Pitch Black, or whatever that movie that
yeah.
Riddick comes from. That'd be an interesting thing to see, because I don't remember it at all. I just remember being a kid and like just between like XXX, Fast and the Furious, Pitch Black, like Vin Diesel was the man for me. I thought Vin Diesel was badass.
I could see that, yeah.
So especially Riddick. Riddick was cool, as far as I remember. Anyways,
I've never seen it,
so
maybe we can watch it.
You were saying A+, I'm saying A, right?
I'm gonna give it an A plus. I was
Yeah.
thinking S, but now I'm gonna give it an A plus.
Okay, yeah. It's solid. It's really solid. What are some of your thoughts for next pitch?
Next week,
Yeah. You said you had a couple.
we
ideas.
got a suggestion from one Matthew Frey.
Yeah.
Said to go along with our Matrix late 90s, early 2000s Blade. He suggested Constantine, which I've never seen, but
Sure.
sounds fun. Or Wanted,
Wanted. Yeah.
the one with the curve and the bullets.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
I have. Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah.
I'd like to watch one of those,
Sure.
but we also don't have to if you have
Sure.
something else in mind.
Well,
But-
you get to pick one. I get to pick one. So it's.
Well,
it
I'll see
works
what
out.
I'll see what you pick and see if either of us will maybe go with it.
Well, spoilers. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm a horror hound. I can't hide from it. Been indulging a lot lately, and I think I would like to watch The Fog.
The
John
whether-
Carpenter from the 80s.
Okay, yes, I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and it's a really. We'll talk about it more in the actual podcast, but it's an interesting companion piece, in my opinion, to Halloween, because it has Tom Atkinson or whatever from Halloween 3 is the main character, as well as like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And it's the same cinematographer, Dean Cundy or whatever.
Yeah, love Dean.
And so it's just this like it's this really like almost like Stephen
Apologize.
there's this very like sleepy Stephen King-esque spooky nighttime quiet, like it kind of reminds me of the general vibe of Salem's Lot a little bit. There's a lot of just like nighttime empty like Norman Rockwell at night and something's wrong, kind of in a sense almost Lynchian, but vibe. It's just like I said, it seems like an extension of Halloween, but there's not a killer guy anymore. There kind of is. The whole fog rolls in, and there's this like lore surrounding how like the fog contains killer pirates who got fucked over in the past and now they want their treasure or something. But like it's not. It's like it's so Stephen King-ish in the sense of like, I'm not into pirates. I don't like that. But the rest of the, like, same thing with Salem's Lot. Like, there's some things that are kind of corny and don't really work for Salem's Lot, but I do have a soft spot for Salem's Lot, the book. The movie, too, but mostly the book. And at the end, like, that kind of comes full circle where, like, I guess the treasure is, like, hidden inside of the church in town because the church are the ones that killed the pirates or something. So as soon as the pirates get their treasure, like, the curse is lifted or something. Which sounds very Stephen King-ish to me,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just this weird, like, blending of, like, what if John Carpenter put all of his Halloween penis into a Stephen King book vagina.
Okay, I get it.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm very excited to see it.
So
My therapist keeps telling me to watch it. And,
that's interesting. You can go home. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I can't wait to let her know that I finally
Did I
watched
send
it.
you a picture of? I was at the store and they had the same exact copy of the thing, except one was green and one was blue.
No, you didn't.
I didn't. Well, here, let me show you a picture of this because I sent it. I think I sent it to Will and I said, "Do I get the green fog or the blue fog?" Let me see. Where's this little thing at? Anything else to say about the Matrix though?
No,
we
not at
spent a
all.
lot of time talking about other things. But...
Yeah, no, I got not much more to say about the Matrix.
Okay. Okay. Where the fuck is this? Where the fuck is it? Perhaps. Maybe I have to go to my text with Mr. With Mr. Friend of the show, Will Lorenz.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
I also, another film I watched that I'd love to talk about and potentially do on the podcast is Glenn or Glenda. I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar. We talked about it a bit with the Cedar Chucky, because that's why his name's Glenn and Glenda's its
Yes,
homage.
yeah.
Ed Wood. It's Ed Wood's second most famous film. First one being Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yes.
Glenn or Glenda is a semi-autobiographical tale because apparently he kind of struggled with his gender identity, was a bit of a cross-dresser in his life. Ed Wood was. And it's a really, really interesting movie. It's most of it is narration and just kind of like being like, how come it is that Americans see a headline like sex change operation and they go, like, oh my God, who could have even, but God didn't intend that, but at the same time they have no problem hopping on an airplane or driving in a car. God didn't intend that, and it's like this weird plea for empathy at a time you wouldn't expect, a film like that to be made. and then sprinkled inside of it is like some. I've heard that it's a movie that David Lynch liked a lot. But there's like these crazy like Lynchian silent portions of crazy. It's and like let me just describe one imagine kind of the apartment from Blue Velvet, like a woman's clothes walks in and then she kind of like puts her hands like this and like faints, but then like superimposed over that fades in Bela Lugosi in a suit leaning forward going snips and snails and puppy dog tails. Yes. Puppy dog tails. Over top of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so
that's
Lynchy.
great. Yeah.
But then it goes back to the So anyways, some of it's a little dated because obviously it's, the 50s. So like they'll say some stuff like where they'll just be like, a man who wants to clean the dishes must be a hermaphrodite. Crazy stuff. But still, it is a really, it's an endearing plea for empathy from someone who struggled with their gender identity, in my opinion. And sprinkled inside of it is some terrific moments of Lynchian, what I would describe as ecstasy. I'm just like, oh my God, give me more. But it was considered the worst movie ever made at the time, obviously, because it deals with, cross-dressing and transgenders, and obviously Ed Wood was also considered the worst director to ever live, yada, yada, yada. So, it is kind of like one of those films where, like, even when you look it up, like, it has, like, 3 stars on IMDb, and if you look it up on Letterboxd, the ratings are all over the place. It's not a consistently, like, praised or hated film. It's a very polarizing cult film, for sure. And, to me... it's an odd thing because it's not a good movie in the sense that Back to the Future is, but I just feel like time and time again we've proved that My Dinner with Andre can be a movie. So like why people hate it for being a bad movie to me seems to only fall down to because it deals with the transgender issue is the only thing I can think of, because genuinely otherwise, like, again, like, I watch it and I'm like, this is banging. Like, I get that there's genuinely flaws in the fact that the narrative is constructed around like a detective who stumbles upon like a transgendered person who's killed themselves initially, as anybody should by society's standards, doesn't think twice about it, but it keeps nagging at him, so he goes to see a psychiatrist to talk with them about. Like, he's just kind of like, can you tell me more about this whole transgender thing? I don't know why, but I can't stop thinking about this, like, she that killed himself or whatever. Right? And so, like, a lot of that's, like, insensitive. But, again, it's, like, contextually in 1955, like, that's crazy for a movie to deal with that.
Absolutely,
like, sure, it might be a little insensitive every now and again, but it's, like, it's coming from a man who literally struggled with these things in his personal life. It's not like it's...
Back then, they didn't really have sensitive language for it.
Yeah, they didn't have PC terms for things like that. You just talked about it bluntly,
Yeah.
So I love it though. I loved it. I really loved it.
I'd really love to check that out.
Yeah, it's for free if you want to watch it just cause on Tubi. But it's weirdly it's like in a version that's like colorized because no one owns the.
It sucks.
Yeah, but but it was shot in black and white because Ed Wood was broke and literally died poor after getting evicted. Drank all weekend, couldn't get any of his friends to loan him any money, and he just had like a heart attack while his like fiance who hated him in the other room was just kind of like, "Shut up, Ed."
Bummer.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Rest in peace, Ed Wood.
Rest in peace, Ed Wood. I'm really glad that you brought up Ed Wood because I had totally forgot about this and I wouldn't have brought it up. But I saw somebody online just dragging the movie The Disaster Artist for being a bad version of Tim Burton's Ed Wood.
Yeah. I want to watch Ed Wood also. I just wanted to see some of his films first. So I'd love to watch Plan 9 from Outer Space before I see Ed Wood also. Continue.
But it inspired me to check out The Disaster Artist, the book.
Yeah.
Because from what I heard of people dragging that, and listen, I don't want to make any excuses for James Franco, trust me. But people just dragging that movie about how like it really diminishes who both of these guys were and like really misses the point of the book itself. And after reading the book, all I can really think about is like, well, yeah, it's a James Franco, Seth Rogen movie. They make boner comedies. The movie's a boner comedy, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm 10 years late to it. But hey, I highly recommend that book, The Disaster Artist. It's pretty good, but also it's pretty. I would say, it gives you every side of Tommy Wiseau. It's written by Greg Sestero.
Yeah.
And kind of like goes to bat for him, but
Yeah.
also doesn't shy away of who he was and what he did, especially while directing The Room. Just a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Just like really like treated people really poorly, especially women.
Yeah.
Like did sex scenes over and over and over and over and over again, and just walked around naked all day long, and just like made this woman who plays, what's her name, the main love interest in that movie, his wife, made her do the sex scene over and over and over again, and she was the only person who could play her because every other actress who came to play that part quit immediately, and just stuff like that. But then also a lot of like, I don't want to say endearing, but like humanizing things about him and just the weird guy he was. But also, I did kind of tell you the other day, there are too many eccentric things about him where like at the beginning it talks about how like every time we would go to a restaurant, Tommy would order a glass of hot water. That's incredibly funny. But then you get to like around the end of the book where he's just like, yeah, and he loved being American so much that every November for Thanksgiving, every single night Tommy would eat an entire turkey. It's like, I do not believe you at this point, man.
Yeah.
But it is very sad. He talks about like, yeah, really the only kind of reason for The Room, obviously, he's like, to my knowledge, became the example that he uses is there's a scene that doesn't make any sense of like him and Tommy's character in an alley playing football with some guys, and Tommy was just in like, he describes it as like scarily good shape for The Room. And he's like in a tank top in that scene, and they're doing football, and he's like watching it at the monitor, and people are like, this kind of doesn't make any sense. And he's like, no, it's a great scene. Look how young I look and how much fun we're having. And he's like, oh, this is Tommy's way of making himself look like he's young and has good friends. So I'm like, ooh, that's a huge bummer. Yeah. But I laughed out loud. There's a part where him and Tommy are like on a road trip, and they're coming back, and a deer jumps out in front of them, and Tommy goes, whoa, a monster. And he goes, yeah, that's a deer. He goes, no, that's no deer. That's a monster. That thing kill you. Don't know why. Don't know how.
Well, this is a pretty good segue
to
our next film. Yeah, I feel so. I don't want to cut you off though. Do you have more you have to say?
Oh no.
Okay. Cards on the Table. I love this movie with my whole heart.
I like this movie quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, before I get directed this, Chris Smith just did a documentary about that dude who's like stealing his son's blood to look young and stuff like that. I'd really like to check that out. So
yeah.
Not for the podcast, just in general. I'd like to check that out. Anyway.
Yeah, I would say I'm almost obsessed with this film. I've watched it twice. I also watched it on YouTube because they have the commentary just on YouTube. I listen to the commentary.
Oh, I love that.
The commentary is with Mark Borchardt and with Chris Smith. For the longest time, I had the wrong idea in my head. I thought American Movie was like Spinal Tap.
Oh, really?
I thought it was like a mockumentary type thing, in the vein of like, also like with a little bit of Fargo, where like, it's like these characters intentionally playing like almost like a strange brew, like they're I didn't know that it was genuine. I didn't know that it was real, and in my opinion, Mark Borchardt, folk hero. I put him up there.
Really?
Yeah, I think about him as like a, as like a Kevin Smith type character, just a guy by hook or crook. It's just one of those things where I think it's such an inspirational story of what you can achieve. Not that he's necessarily achieved much. Obviously, the big part of the film is that he obviously struggles with procrastinating and stuff like that. But in terms of what I've seen from Coven and the amount of passion that he has, what I'm trying to say is that it's a great example of what you can what you can do even if you aren't born in Hollywood and you don't have money and stuff like that. I think it's just a great example of what every human being has inside of you, even if it isn't Alien or whatever. It might just be Glenn or Glenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or it might just be The Room. But what I'm saying is that, like, plenty of us have something really special in us. And, Mark Borchardt is a guy who, for all intents and purposes, according to the American plan, the American design, his American dream was never supposed to come true. And, thanks to someone like Chris Smith, it did. There's a guy who's, been on Family Guy, has been on David Letterman, who's worked almost every year since this movie came out, who I think still does some kind of weekly or bi-weekly movie where he talks about television and stuff, and has been an inspiration to plenty of people. And this movie's in the Criterion Collection. People still buy Coven to this day. And yeah, it's just I think an incredibly inspiring story. The 90s, I think, were full of, the indie DIY kind of story. I mean, to a degree, I don't really think of them in the same vein, but Quentin falls into that category, but I think more so of people like Kevin Smith or even like Jon Favreau and his buddy Vince Vaughn, doing shit like Swingers and stuff, and all these small. There's hundreds of others that I could have brought up but just that thing of just like guys from nowhere. Places like New Jersey or Wisconsin just kind of scraping together a couple of tens of thousands of dollars and making something happen or whatever. And now again, obviously, I'm not saying that this is like an all-powerful, make it happen kind of guy. He wouldn't have made it happen probably if it weren't for Chris Smith following him around with a camera and kind of putting his feet on the coals, obviously. But that doesn't make him a bad guy or like, it doesn't take anything away from this story in my opinion. But yeah, all I mean to say is just that such a I'll refer back to this. This is what makes this film special. I think the commentary really helped me put a nail on it. Chris Smith during the commentary of this says, "Had I met you 2 years before, you wouldn't have been as motivated to get anything done. You were in a period at that point where like you weren't really doing anything. Mm-hmm. And had I met you 2 years later, your Uncle Bill would have been dead." And so he was like, so I think it's really beautiful that I met you exactly at this time to kind of document you and your relationship with your Uncle Bill, because he ended up passing like 2 weeks after they finished rapping. And Chris Smith talks about like everybody kind of coming back together for the first time for, Uncle Bill's funeral. And just, like there's that moment of like realizing like, oh, that's what we were doing for 2 years. Because they spent like 2 years following him around. They shot 104 hours of audio and like 80 or 90 hours of video, and they didn't even edit a single second of it or even look at it or have it developed until they finished. And then they spent another 2 years looking at all that and trimming it down to about a 4-hour cut and then cutting it down to about an hour and a half. And one other thing that comes from the commentary that really pulls at my heartstrings is like there's that point at the end where like Uncle Bill's sitting on his porch and just starts talking what seems like nonsense. He's talking about like, make everybody happy, make yourself happy, be a comedian or whatever. And Chris Smith refers to this and many of the things that happen in the film as being like these beautiful soliloquies. And he's like, and I feel like this is like, he's like, I don't remember it, but like when we were in the editing bay and I saw this, he's like, I just started crying. And every time it happens now, he's like, I continue to cry because it's like this, parting advice from your great uncle, your uncle or whatever. And like, just this beautiful life advice about how to live like a good life or whatever and stuff. And so anyways, all I'm trying to say is that it's such a lightning in a bottle moment of, Mark Borchardt like took a couple classes at University of Wisconsin or whatever just so he could have access to that lab to make his movie happen. So he just happened to be at the fucking university cutting his film, and Chris Smith, I guess, bumped into him. And I saw this documentary that, not documentary, but this interview that my fiance showed me where Chris Smith is talking to a guy, and he talks about the origins of how this started. And what it was like he decided to follow like Mark Borchardt going to like the Toronto Film Festival, because I guess he was like going there just to try to like hand out a script and like try to find like actors for his movie and stuff like that, whatever. And he was like, and I just did this on a whim or whatever. But he was like, but by the time we finished, he is like, on the commentary he talks about it also, like how he just kind of aimlessly was kind of like doing it for fun, like filming Mark doing his thing a little bit. He was like, and then it was like that moment where we met Uncle Bill, where like me and I think it was like his friend, or maybe they were partners at the time, but her name is Sarah. I can't remember her last name. But like as soon as they went to Uncle Bill's for the first time, he was like, they were like, this is what we're doing. Like we're doing this. We're following Mark and this world that he exists in. And I'm so happy that it exists. I'm I know that like in the grand scheme of things, does this documentary matter? No, but to me, this is truly something special, and it means a whole great deal to me, and I'm really happy that American Movie exists. It really brings me so much joy. It really does,
I like this movie quite a bit. Yes.
Sure, not that much. I understand. I know. I'm obsessed. I'm genuinely obsessed with this film. I am.
And I can absolutely see why.
From the get-go, real quick, before you start your thing, another thing that I should mention is I think it just subverted my expectations so much and ended up being such a more genuine and authentic thing than I thought it was going to be. I remember watching the first couple scenes with Will, and it wasn't he just kept saying like, this is real, and I was like, what? Like what? Because I thought it was like people goof like doing bits.
Yeah, especially Matt. What's his name?
Mike Shank.
Also, I fucking love that their names are Mark, Matt, and Mike.
Yeah. Continue your thing.
Oh, my thing.
Your intro.
Yeah, you showed me bits and pieces of this movie last
Yeah.
week, and I hooked immediately, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And I think Mark is such an interesting character, and I agree with everything you said. When you watch him trying to make this movie and how long he's been trying to make this movie. You're right; it's pretty inspiring, and it's very Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino-ish.
Yeah.
But hey, it's the reason I love doing this show. It's the reason I love talking to you about movies.
Yeah.
By the end of this movie, I think Mark's kind of a dirtbag.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's the fact that if he didn't have 3 kids and didn't owe a lot of child support,
Yeah.
and we didn't get those scenes of him talking about how he's not putting his kids what his parents put him through, but then you also get that scene of him and his ex arguing in front of all of the kids and like those things happening constantly, and him constantly being like, fuck you, you fucking 40 hours a week fucking up. How he's better than that, even though he's kind of a deadbeat dad who is just delivering newspapers and is continuing to remake these movies over and over again. And there's that part that makes me really sad where he's talking about like, well, yeah, when the movie's done, that's way more stressful. So, then that day of you watching that movie turns into fucking 6 years. Yeah. All of that kind of stuff really rubbed me the wrong way by the end of it. But also somehow at the same time, I still feel the same way you do, where it's like, man, it is kind of inspiring to see him just not let this fucking thing go. Yeah. But at the same time, I think you can be inspiring and be a dirtbag at the same time. So I don't want to take anything away from it. But boy, oh, did I love this movie. Yeah. And boy, oh, before I forget it, I fucking hate his brother. His brother with like the longer hair, who's like, and I thought he'd kill somebody someday. I thought he was a really, and like I thought someday it would be me. It's like, hey, Mark's brother, fucking get over yourself. Yeah. No matter how I feel about Mark, I hate his brother 10 times more. Yeah. First note I have in this movie: watching him opening his mail at the beginning.
So fucking funny.
Makes me feel so much better about the one credit card that I'm constantly sweating over.
Yeah. It's so funny because he opens up, he's like, oh geez, look at this one. He's like, $891. That's funny. I had to borrow gas money from my mom last night. And then he's like, oh God, look at this one from the state of Wisconsin. Oh God, I owe $81 to the state of Wisconsin or else they're gonna put a lien on my earnings. What are they gonna do? Take my Night of the Living Dead book? Yeah. And then he opens the one that's a credit card. He's like, oh, kick fucking ass. I got a MasterCard. He's like, hey, life's pretty sweet sometimes. Yeah. But
also, I do love something I couldn't get over. Everybody in Wisconsin in 1996 looks like everybody I met in 2019 in the Detroit music scene. Like they're all so dressed exactly the same. It's crazy.
That's something that friend of the show Will Lorenz has mentioned, is that like there was that whole crew like kind of hanging around. That he was like especially some of our friends from Canada. He was like they fell out of the Viewist universe.
Yes, absolutely.
But anyways,
also the next thing I'd like to say about Mark.
Yeah.
Every shot from all of his movies that I saw, kick ass. Yeah. Like there are some like scenes a little bit later that do look like it's a really bad like B like C movie even. But like all of his like black and white stuff and like the silent film that he made, all of those things are like, this looks really good. Yeah. Those kick ass. Yeah.
Yeah, and to talk about some of the darker moments in the thing, there's on the commentary, there's a bunch of him just kind of be like, oh god, yeah, this is like, like especially like Durant's and stuff. He's like, this is really embarrassing and stuff. I mean, it's just a drunk 28-year-old, just kind of But
oh my god! Also, I love his dad when he's going on that rant, like, "Hey, you bitch fucker!" And his dad's just coming, like,
"Hey, watch the language.
Watch that conversation, Mark." It's just so funny.
But yeah, I love you start off with like just the shots of like him driving either at dusk or dawn, and he's like I've been a failure at this point. I can't be a failure no more. I can't do that. Like he's like when I was 12 years old, it was like this is what I got to do. And he's like now I'm almost 30 or whatever, and like this is same shit. So what am I gonna do? It's either drink and dream or create and complete. It's a great because that's the other thing is that you're right, there is dirtbag elements, because the other thing that the movie definitely covers is like a man who is genuinely 1,000% an alcoholic, and just the depths that'll take you to. I mean, he's living at home when we meet him, but yeah, I do almost wish you had just your laptop running freaking the movie like at 2 times speed so I could just fucking see like scene to scene. But
I have it playing right now. I can run it at 2 times speed if you'd like.
What happens afterwards?
After him driving?
After him driving, yeah.
It's him opening his mail, and then it's his family talking about him.
Okay, keep going.
His family's talking about him, then it cuts to his friends, shows their short films, and then it's a bunch of people in the quote-unquote production meeting with him.
Oh my god, that's so funny, because during the commentary, I know I don't want to just keep repeating
No, go for it.
shit from the commentary, but he's even embarrassed by that, because he's like, oh my god, he's like, I can't even believe these happened. Like Mark, he's like, because nothing comes of this. He's like, to this day, he's like, Northwestern doesn't even exist to this day. He's still never made Northwestern.
Seeing this right now blows my mind. I was like,
exactly.
oh yeah, these guys never come back. Yeah.
Even on the commentary, he was like, I cannot even believe this happened. He's like, I wonder what these people in this room must be thinking, because God, he's like, I can't even believe this. It's so funny. I will take a moment to say something else that I watched was a couple of times that David Letterman had him on the show, and I think David Letterman leaves a bad taste in my mouth the same way that like
with Harmony
Howard
Korine.
Stern does. Yeah, the Harmony Korine thing and also the Mark Borchardt thing. In both instances, there's such a combative, I don't understand you, and the audience should laugh at you because you're weird and dumb.
Yeah, he's got that like David Letterman I love and respect, but he's got that like boomer punching down.
He's got a big punching down thing, and they definitely punch down on Mike Shank and Mark Borchardt, which is so embarrassing to me, because I'm just like, you fucking straight-laced, like I hate to do with Mark Borchardt, but I'm just like, yeah, you climbed the fucking comedy ladder the way you're supposed to end up on late night. Like, okay, Mark Borchardt's weird.
Yeah, and
ha ha ha, super funny,
But he's still on your fucking show, David Letterman. Yeah.
But it's so funny because he like sends them to Comic-Con in like 2000 when nobody knows what Comic-Con is. Even Mark Borchardt's like, he's like, yeah, he sent me to some convention or whatever. And there's just so many shots of it that are so fucking funny to me. Like there's one where like a guy in a full-blown yellow and blue like Wolverine is kind of doing like a shinky type shit for like 10 seconds straight. It's just Mark going, wicked. Oh, dude, wicked. Wicked. As this guy just keeps doing shinkies. So funny. And the other thing is there's this scene where like he's standing by a time machine and trying to explain a time machine to Mike Shank, basically. Yeah. He's like, dude, if you had access to one of these, where would you go? He's like, probably Mars. And he's like, no, dude, that's not how it works. The chair, he's like, the chair stays here, man. Like you could go back in time or you could go forward in time. And then he says like, oh, he's like, I'd probably go back to 1969 to Woodstock or maybe Mars or something. He's like, no, dude, that's not how. And it just like kind of cuts them off in the middle of that argument.
That's so funny.
And on the commentary, because there's a scene where they have an argument about how Mark believes that Mike ripped off a Black Sabbath song. Yeah. They have the argument again on the commentary, and it's so funny because like Mark is so polite about it. One of the things that's really endearing in the commentary is like there's so many times where there's just scenes of like him, with his mom or like with Mike or whatever, and he'll just be like, oh man, what a great comfort that is to just have like, like, man, God, I love just like when my mom's there, like when Mike's there, like just, man, there's just something about
I love Mike,
yeah. And but he's like, I don't want to get into it here. We can talk about it another time. But he's like, Mike, one day I really, really do think it'd be good to like just sit down and play those songs back to back, because like, I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to be mean basically, but like, like I do think you ripped that song off or whatever. And Mike says like, I don't even want to get into this or whatever. And then Chris, the director, basically asks him like, what's the name of Mike's song? And he's like, oh, it's Was I Going Insane? And he's like, and what's the Black Sabbath one? He's like, it's called Am I Going Insane? And they kind of giggle a little bit, and Mark is just like, see, Mike doesn't even see the fun. What's funny in that? Like, he doesn't even. But anyways, dude, when Mike tells that story of him ODing,
it's crazy.
It's
You're like, I got lots of other
He's also passed. Like Rest in peace, Mike.
I didn't know that. Rest in peace, Mike.
Yeah, and a bunch of people, like even like Patton Oswalt, like dozens of people, like wrote very heartfelt things about how much Mike Shank meant to them and stuff. Just as like in terms of being that, like I said, inspirational kind of.
He's such a lovely seeming man. But something I would like to bring up is they bring up, I love and then his sponsor brings him to gambling things that they both go to. Oh, he's an addict from scratchers. His mom goes, maybe he buys the $5 ones.
It's so funny when he shows up smiling and Mark just keeps going, what do you know that we don't know? And then it cuts to him being like, I won $50 on a scratcher, but I didn't bring it with me because I don't want these guys to know, because then they're going to want to borrow money off me.
Yes, and what I love that I would like to point out is he mentions offhandedly other times him winning money from scratch-offs. I did the math. Mike makes $1,060 in this movie from scratch offs.
Dude, even on the commentary, he starts going on for a couple minutes where he's like, and then one time I won $200, and then one time I won $1,000, and then one time, like, it's so funny.
Yes, he mentions that he wins 50 and then 200 and then $810.
Yeah.
If my math is correct.
But yeah, that stuff's all great. I love in the beginning, like when he's like writing that like radio show that he does, or whatever.
Yes.
He's like, oh God, oh what is it? Oh God, it's 3:15. I gotta get this type. He's like, they're out there putting up scarecrows for no discernible practical reason. It's so funny. And there's that one super like prim and proper guy who's in the movie. He's like, it's pronounced coven.
Yes.
Dude, when he shows up at the end and Mark, before you even see him, he's like, oh God, Seth, God, and then it pans to him and he's like standing there with like a scarf on and like a beret, and he's like, I'll take the scarf off.
And then later it's just like, I'm freezing. It's like, well, you can put your jacket on for now. Yeah.
He's so funny. Oh my God.
I just have just like a smattering of notes that
go ahead.
I have no order to them.
Sure.
I laughed for a pretty long time when they're talking to his friends, who was just like, yeah, I met him. I thought, man, this guy's a pretty raw dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Again, I hate his brother so much, even though I said like, hey, Mark should be doing.
They were not getting along at the time. They were both living at home, from what the director and Mark say on the commentary. They were both living at home, and he was trying to like avoid the whole thing because they were just not like. Yeah. Like Mark talks very highly of his brother that's in the Hooters t-shirt. Yes. And it's funny because Mark is like, he's like, oh man, people give him so much shit for wearing that shirt in the thing. He's like, but really, like, he was like, that was just like a garbage, like, you know, like laundry day t-shirt he was wearing. It. He wasn't wearing it for any, like, he's not that kind of guy, you know. What
his piece of shit brother says, he's best suited for working a factory, maybe. Yeah. Fuck that guy into the ground. And now that I think about it, if that was my brother, I'd be Mark. Yeah, I would absolutely be trying to make my movie at all costs. Yeah.
I love when he goes on that long rant about how he's like, you know what, man? He's like, the other day, you know, they called me into the bathroom, man, and he's like, someone didn't shit in the toilet, they shat on the toilet, they shat all around, or whatever. He's like, for about 10 seconds, man. He's like, I was sitting there, and it was really a profound moment because I was thinking, man, I'm almost 30 years old, and in 10 seconds, I gotta go clean up someone else's shit, man. Yeah. So fun. It was good to do.
Maybe my favorite scene in the movie is when they give Uncle Bill a surge.
A what?
A Surge.
Oh, a Surge. Yeah, because Mike says, he's like, it's a new cola from the Coca-Cola company called Surge.
That's good.
One of my favorite scenes.
Never heard of this one before.
Is Thanksgiving night. I love that he spends Thanksgiving night with his Uncle Bill. I love that he's the one who's willing to give Uncle Bill a bath.
Whoa, that's a wicked toenail.
Yeah, that's like something you see in science class, dude. And he's hammered. He's just like, huh? Science class? And he's the one willing to clean Uncle Bill's clothes. No one else is doing that for him. Yeah, that's absolutely. Really, really endearing. I mean, to have to wash your 95-year-old uncle's ass and balls and stuff, I mean, that's a...
Oh yeah, that's commitment to your family.
And I love the moment where he's like drunk on his back or whatever, his uncle, and Mark's drunk as fuck, and he's like, I see great cinema in this, and he goes, cinnamon? And he's like, no, dude, great cinema. And he's like, cinnamon? And he's like, no, dude, cinema. And he's like, I don't know what that is. He's like, I see great cinema. He's like, that's good at least.
Yeah,
so good.
It's the first thing you showed me, but it is absolutely the funniest part of the movie. It's all right.
It's okay. He's like, all right, take 31. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yes, Uncle Bill, obviously the shining star of this movie.
Yeah. So really quick, I will also say that Chris Smith was talking about how like in his trailer, like he's such a stickler for like they wouldn't let him plug in any lights, like using electricity because he didn't want his bill going up and stuff. And like it's so funny because Mark even talks about it in the back in the commentary where he's like, man, I don't know how you can have a $12 phone bill and still bitch about running it up.
Yeah. Two things about Uncle Bill real quick. One with that when he's talking about his money, he says he has $280,000, but he is like kind of complaining of like, I don't know where my money's going, and I'd like my $3,000 back and yada yada. Yeah. I thought to myself, being at that age and just having like that broken capitalism brain, it's just like I thought, Uncle Bill, you're probably not making it to the end of this documentary. Why are you so worried about your money?
Yeah, and turn all your lights on and sleep with them on, buddy.
Felt really bad when Uncle Bill didn't make it to the end of the documentary.
Yeah.
And then I also love my second favorite Uncle Bill scene besides the surge is when it's his birthday and they're at the thing. And Uncle Bill almost breaks character for a second where he goes... Like, they're just saying some shit to him, and he's, like, not really responding. Or they're like, yeah, it's his birthday. He's like, don't really care. It doesn't really do nothing much for me. And then he goes, beautiful day out if it doesn't rain. And then he kind of smiles and
Yeah.
looks at the camera like he
Yeah.
broke character. I
Yeah.
just love that. I just love Uncle
Yeah,
Bill.
no, in the commentary, it's so sweet hearing Mark talk about, like, he's just so many times when Uncle Bill's on screen, he's like, oh, man, he's like, I used to love going to Uncle Bill's. He's like, it's so cool, you know, he's like, because my dad's so, like, uptight and has all these ideas for, you know, you and life and what you should do, and he's like, you know, Uncle Bill was none of that. He was such a cool, you know, just kind of, like, laid back, you know, rebellious guy. You know, he didn't care. He just wanted to do what he wanted to do. You know, you know, it's really clear that he, like, loved his Uncle Bill a lot. It's very sweet. But really quick, I want to talk about just funny moments. I love there's the guy who gets his head put through the fucking cabinet. That scene had me dying. And so you know that scene where like he punches, he goes, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry, I tried to put your head through this. Like,
Yeah,
it's not gonna work."
yeah.
His knuckles are all bloody, and Chris Smith talks about it in the documentary here. He's like, "Oh yeah, his knuckles are bloody like that because he punched it like over 20 times before he was finally like, dude, this is not gonna happen. I'm sorry, I tried to do this." You know?
Yeah.
And God, that guy just before that when they interview him and he's like smoking outside, he's like, well, he's like, I tried to I really want Mark to finish his film or whatever, but I tried to, you know, give a timeline so I can really get out of here at a reasonable time and stuff. It's just such a funny, like, it's just so weird to like see people like that who are only tangentially related to the madness.
Yes.
And they are the straight men to just the crazy fucking world that Mark lives in. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, he's like, I've got my guidelines, but I'm still endeared to Mark, so I'll let him push him a little bit, but I still have places to be. I like that.
Yeah.
Laughed so hard. It's such a classic mom-son relationship when his mom's filming that thing for him, and he keeps going, did you turn the camera off? Yeah, I didn't say cut. Okay, cut. And like just over and over and over.
You're
and
leaving
over
the
again.
frame. He's like, no, dude, I'm supposed to leave the frame.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, but you bounced out of the frame a little bit. He's like, okay, Mom, okay. And I also love when like he's like so strapped for players. He's like, Mom, you got to come out in the woods and be one of these shadow guys. And I also love there's the scene where they're filming the cabinet thing where he's outside and he's got that sunburn. But Chris Smith points it out. He's like, I want to point this out. He's like, you have a sunburn in a reverse farmer's tan. Somehow you're just burned where a t-shirt should be. And it's true. Like he literally
That's so
has
fucking
like the
funny.
circle. All this is not burned, but his t-shirt.
That's so fucking
It's crazy.
funny.
And all Mark says, he's like, hey, you know, that is a pretty funny thing for you to point out. That's all he says.
That's so fucking funny.
Oh, so funny.
When he does the ADR, and he tells his kid that
Daughter, what it is, yeah.
it's audio dialogue replacement.
Yeah.
That is not what ADR stands for. It's automatic dialogue replacement, just so you're aware. But it should be audio for sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe the hardest I laughed in the movie is when Mike is just like giving him shit for like some cross. He goes, "It's bad. It's voodoo, man. It's like an unnatural cross. It's an unnatural cross. You think when Jesus was hanging, he thought it was natural?"
That's really funny. I also love when he's talking to Mike, and Mike's going to be the camera, and he's like, do you think you can centrifugally focus, man? Like, if something was happening in front of the camera, do you think you can instinctively centrifugally focus? Like, so funny. And
oh my... Wait... I'm sorry. When they're doing that, like everybody's screaming into the microphones.
Oh, Mike goes for it.
Like Mike, before he even says go, you can see see Mike shift into another realm and then just let it out. It's crazy.
It's beautiful. It really is. It really is beautiful. And then there's that moment where towards the end where they're actually cutting Coven, and you know he's like he's right here's a film, man. And you're supposed to see all this. He's like, and then we're missing this little bit. What the fuck happens here, man? You don't go to see it. And they're like trying to fix however it got messed up in the cut. And Chris talks about he's like, yeah, dude, I remember like coming there, and it was like we got there like 20 minutes after they realized that, and, like shit was bleak, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways. I'm just trying to jog my memory and think. Yeah, you know, there is that Arrested Development part of it where, you know, again, you are watching a man who clearly struggles, you know, with mental health and alcoholism and stuff like that. And yeah, that is one of the more like sad. I find it a little endearing because I can relate or whatever. But you know, the sad things about the film is the fact that he's like stuck in that like remaking his one or two good ideas because there is something very scary about once it's done, right? And he talks about that, and I think that's one of the major themes of the film for sure, is just that I can't call it anything other than Arrested Development or the comfort in procrastination, right?
Absolutely.
And it's sad, but and there is all the stuff with the kids and the ex-girlfriend and whatnot, and you know that does give it a dark underbelly for sure. But you know the reality is like you know that's life. I mean, you know, outside of the movies, I mean, they're, you know, it is fun to watch everybody walk around and be a character, but these are also people who, you know, got real shit. I mean, like his buddy Ken or whatever, Ken Keene seems like a real piece of work. They pick him up from jail
Yeah,
at one point. I
yeah.
mean, he does not seem like a good guy.
Oh my god, I love when they get in the car and like Mike scoots over. He's like, "Whoa, you're hitting the gas, man."
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway.
No, I'm just, but I am trying to remember offhand if there's anything else, because there's so many moments, like just beautiful little moments in this thing.
There's this moment where they're posting up the flyers for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
One, I'd like to point out that Mark has the sickest shirt I've ever seen. It's a white shirt with a pocket, and on the pocket it's got embroidered the Marlboro Cigarettes logo. So sick. But then when Mike walks away without any of the flyers, he goes,
Yeah, he's like, dude.
take the flyers. He goes, oh, yeah. He's like, you're supposed to be hanging these up. He goes, I know, that's why I'm getting these from you. He's like, man, you're not getting them from me. I'm giving them to you. That's the point.
So funny. Although Mark is hardworking and knowledgeable at filmmaking, he is also poor at planning. That's so funny. Literally, part of the synopsis on Wikipedia says, although Mark is hardworking and knowledgeable about filmmaking, he is also poor at planning and inarticulate as a director. But anyways, yes. So and then there's also like this there's that moment where they try to like tell the story of how they lost all the flyers or whatever. And after, even on the commentary, Mark's like, this still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand what they're trying to tell me or whatever. And like, even Chris Smith is trying to defend their story, but he's like, dude, I'm still not, I don't understand how, I don't get this, you know?
That's so good.
But I remember when that happens, when those two are the two that show up to hand out the flyers, I remember Will almost fell over because he was just like, yeah, that's your dream team. That's who you definitely, you definitely want to trust those guys with any task.
Yeah. That second guy has to be related to Dan.
I know, the whole time I was thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Trying to think of other moments that stand out to me. There's the whole thing with the Super Bowl that's going on. I didn't know this, but Chris Smith talks about it on the commentary, which I highly recommend if you haven't listened to it. Where I guess Green Bay was like the underdog the whole time that year, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl, and he thought that was like very symbolic. He wanted to include that because he felt like it was like a 1-to-1 to like Mark and his underdog kind of story there. And yeah, I don't know. I was thinking, I will say, obviously there's the very funny scene where he's like, it's Coven, man. Which Coven is an acceptable pronunciation of the word, but I love that Mr. Uptight Scarf guy is like, it's pronounced Coven.
Yeah, love that guy.
Yeah, I think, anything else in your notes?
I would say that the end, where it's like all the old archival footage of them at like 19, just doing the exact same shit they're doing now, really bummed me out. Yeah, but like almost to the point where I'm like, I wish it wasn't in the movie because that left the worst taste in my mouth. Especially Ken. Ken having a full head of hair and just playing guitar and just like, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that guy's life's gonna take an absolute turn. It was a huge bummer.
Yeah, who knows where he's at now? Who knows where Mr. Ken Keene is now?
But
I think it'd be interesting. I hate the Legacy sequel thing, but it would be.
I'd watch American Movie too.
Yeah, well, I would like to just see him complete Northwestern.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd like to know what the fuck it's about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. For me, it's an A+.
I'm gonna give it a A-. I like it quite a bit. Yeah.
Let me just blop that down really quick so I don't lose it.
Oh, I'm so hungry. I need to play.
Oh, that's not good.
Dum.
Yeah. So yeah. And yeah, I have a new life goal. I think it'd be nice to meet Mr. Mark Borchardt. I wish I could also meet Mike Shank.
From what you've told me about him since this movie, he does seem to be a genuinely good guy. I apologize for calling him a dirtbag, but that's just
no. There's
that's just what I got from the movie. Yeah.
No, I don't. I think that's fair to say of the 30-year-old version of him that's living in his parents' basement or whatever. But no, I don't think he's a bad person at all. He seems like a very, especially listening to the commentary. There's, and again, for any amount of, him having 3 kids and not necessarily having a stellar job, there's also, again, him bathing his 95-year-old uncle. People are complex. People
absolutely.
So I didn't take it to heart. I'm sure he wouldn't. There's plenty of times on the commentary where even he's watching what's happening. He's like, dude, this is really a great sadness. I don't like this at all. But that's the thing is, again, it's not like looking at Neo in the Matrix or something. I mean, this is a real man. Everything we watched happen is real. That's a real life, that we watched. So You know? And check this out. Coming this spring, give me a skate park.
Oh,
in Warren.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm going there for sure.
Even though you're almost 30?
unstable. Yeah, man.
You're not worried about...
After I'm 30, I can't skateboard anymore.
Oh,
But
okay.
while I'm still in my ripe old 20s...
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
Someone said someone was 32 the other day. I was like, that's almost 40. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm in my 20s. Anything over 30 is almost 40 to me, man.
But that wraps it up. I think good episode, couple good movies, and I think
Yeah.
next time around I want to pick The Fog, and...
I'm going to pick Constantine.
Okay.
I feel like those would go well together.
Sure, I hear you.
Hell yeah.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
So?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So yeah, in parting, I'd just like to say if you liked American Movie, I'd really recommend listening to that commentary. And if you can't get your hands on a DVD to listen to it, it is on YouTube for free. To get around being copyright struck, they just have still images, so you're not going to watch full motion video. Speaking of which, I also put James Ralph of Cinemassacre in the same kind of category of the Kevin Smithy, Mark Borchardt thing. Probably falls on the side of the spectrum where there's like a little bit of a sadness to it because his aspiration was to become, a film director, and he never really broke past being sort of a YouTube star. But in my opinion, his YouTube legacy more than makes up for him not fully reaching
absolutely,
his but the reason why I bring it up is just because there's one maybe it's like I think it might be like the Sega CD episode where he's reviewing the Sega CD, and part of the advertisement is that it has full motion video or something like that, and he's like, it's got full motion video as opposed to video that isn't full motion, which is pretty funny to me. So anyways, yeah, Fog and Constantine next week, and I think that might be that. Mattress Man.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time...